Let's face it, any serious discussion about government reform must begin and end with redistricting. How congressional and legislative districts are drawn impacts everything from fairness of our elections to the level of cooperation and compromise between lawmakers. Districts that are drawn in favor of one political party lead to partisanship and divisiveness while ignoring compactness and communities of interest. As proof of this, one has to look no further than the stagnating partisanship in Washington today. Modern day government has deteriorated into a politically tainted, polarized, and gridlocked force that is more about self-preservation than representative government. Just take a look at our current congressional maps. We have two that I call interstate districts. The I-81 district stretches from Adams County in the south all the way to the northern tier of northeastern Pennsylvania, and you can see that over there. There's one in our district close to me. It's what I call the I-78 district, runs from the Easton line all the way to Harrisburg suburbs. And then we have the Meehan district over here, which I don't even know if anybody can even make any sense out of that whatsoever. So these are examples of why our current system is broken. So think about it. Instead of voters picking their legislators, our system allows legislators to pick their voters, the ones that they want to represent. It's totally lopsided. That's not the way representative democracy is supposed to work. I'll say from the outset that our work group today, the members have different ideas. We all have different ideas on how we are to fix this redistricting problem. But all of us agree that the way that we do it now does not work. This bipartisan effort is not about whether we need to change redistricting, but how we should change it. And this working group has never existed before on redistricting. It has all 4 caucuses representative, and we're trying to figure out a way of going behind a bill that we could all support, and each legislative caucus bring it to their leaders. And then, once we have a bill and that we can all support, we need to drum up support from our colleagues, but also let the public know. So the public galvanizes behind this type of redistricting, because they're the ones that are the losers in a system that the political parties get to determine who is going to represent them instead of the other way around. Now, there are already some really good proposals out there about redistricting reform, but our task will be about taking a look at all these various reform bills and find common ground on the legislation that we can take back to our caucuses for that support. And let's keep in mind, if we want to implement our reforms by the time the 2020 redistricting cycle gets here, we need to begin with a constitutional reform plan now, because it takes 2 consecutive sessions of the legislature. It has to go then to the voters, which I suspect the voters would vote for overwhelmingly. I want to also tell you that when we talk about even things like reducing the size of the legislature, bill passed the House. You talk about redistricting. What happens when we reduce the size of the legislature and the leaders get to determine which districts stay and which one goes? It works all the time. Like sometimes leaders will say, well, look, I don't like that person because she votes a certain way that I don't agree with. Well, when we talk about redistricting reform, if we let these same leaders determine who's going to stay and who's going to go, there's something wrong with that. I've seen it in the House, I've seen it in the Senate, because I worked in both chambers, where members have been what I call either punished or rewarded based on how they vote. And that is just solely wrong. When it comes to redistricting, there are some people that leaders have determined should go, and the maps are drawn certain ways. It's just ridiculous. So we have to put this back in the hands of the citizens somehow, some way, and this is what this working group is all about.